my words of wisdom are like, do it if you love it, but also don't feel confined to one place. I think that's actually a huge takeaway I have lately is don't feel confined to one medium or staying in one city or staying in one region. Keep going. I guess, yeah, that a big part of that is also saying like, if you're struggling really, really hard and that ends up making just to like keep living in one place and that ends up taking up more of your time, you can still don't buy the idea that you have to be living in New York City to be the next great artist. If someone loves your work, they'll come to your studio.
Welcome to What's My Thesis. I'm Javier Proenza, and today my guest is Emma Christ. Emma is in Portland. I don't even remember how you came to my attention, but I think I saw that you do something for Artillery, right? Are you?
Yeah. I'm the editor at Artillery. We have an editor-in-chief, Daniela Soberman, and then I'm the editor. I've been there for about 3 years, but in addition, I work at galleries in addition to being with the magazine and write for it. But yeah, I'm assuming that's how you found me.
Yeah. No, I think that's where it was. I mean, I knew you were who you were. I just don't remember when you popped up into my Instagram, because people come in waves with sometimes not what that sounds grandiose and that sounds like a lot in waves of like 3 when I'll have a new guest, depending on the guest, sometimes it'll be more, but I that's what I meant. I'm like not sure who you hopped on with. You work with galleries. Are you an artist as well, or you are more in the culture and management, curatorial end? Where do you see yourself fitting in?
If you'd asked me that about like 10 years ago, I'd had a very different answer. Back then I would have said going into the actual artist side of things, but currently I would say I'm more on the curatorial, artist management, arts and culture side of it, the writing, the history and curation behind it.
Well, I always go through people's origin stories either way, whether or not they were artists. So let's go through it. So I like to get into, are you from Portland originally?
Yes. Yeah.
So you grew up, born and raised, you grew up over there?
Born and raised. Yeah.
I'm picturing your parents out of Portlandia, the guy with the earrings that rides the bicycle, and then the bird store woman. Is that
a little different? They're both lawyers, so they do bike, but the ear piercing that's missing.
That's missing.
Or one bikes. Yeah.
Well, yeah.
One bikes.
Yeah. No, that's fun. So then, like, what kind of law? Like criminal defense?
My dad is in appellate law, and then he also used to, for years, be like the Oregon representative for the ACLU. And then my mom is in environmental law, and my sister is in something else I don't know. And then there's
not DC lawyers. But
not
more
DC lawyers.
More what you would think of a stereotype of a person from the West Coast getting into law.
We're not corporate. We're not corporate over here. Definitely not.
But I mean, yeah. Well, whenever I think lawyer, I always think Miami, Florida, crazy Better Call Saul lawyer. So I always like to. That's my first default lawyer when I think.
That's wild. I think Atticus.
Well, my friends hired a lot of lawyers. That kind, because there was a lot of drug use back then. So I never met their lawyers, but I was like, God damn, all my friends have lawyers. All my friends had guns and lawyers. So, like
they go hand in hand.
Yeah, I was thinking about it. I was like, God damn, both my grandparents, everybody has a gun. Which I'm like, which is why I'm so like laissez-faire in terms of my gun politics, but we don't have to get into that. I want to learn more about, so then, do you still make art or have you just kind of like, is it like, where does it fit into your life in terms of production of art before we go back into into the sad story of you trying to be an artist when you were younger?
I don't know. I still think I have some creative outposts. You know, there's still things like currently I'm trying to make a lot of things out of chainmail, which is like not to be in a gallery, but I still feel like that's some artistic practice. And I do have like a wilted studio at my parents' beach house, you know, that's been filled with pieces that they would love for me to get rid of that I've been working on for 6 years. But
So they don't want it to be a studio anymore, you think?
They just don't want me to have a mess in there, and it is a mess. It is a mess. It's like there's plastic everywhere and like empty buckets of house paint and canvases all over the floor and pinned onto the walls. So yeah, they're being very kind to let me still have not touched anything in there for years.
Yeah. Oh man. Other people's stuff in houses. I have a long history with it because I'm the second oldest. So I would like there was a period where I lived in my grandmother's house, but all my brother's shit was in the room, and I was like, "There's no room for me here." So I can relate to the need to get rid of stuff. I'm kind of with your mom on this one.
Yeah. Well, trust me, like since I've been up here on this temporary project in Portland, I was like, I'm not going to pay 2 rents right now. I have my apartment in LA. So I have been staying at their house, and I can safely say I'm also now living with other people's stuff in a room that is not quite mine. And I do understand the burden I'm putting on them.
Wait, so you live in LA now?
I've lived in LA for the past 4 years.
Okay, yeah. So because it just seems like every time I've talked to you about scheduling, you've been in Portland. I guess it's the summer thing that you were saying before we started recording. I think you mentioned. What is that? Is like it sounds like residency for administrative people kind of thing.
My friends own a gallery called ILY2 or ILY2, and it's got a location in Portland and one in New York. And they have currently an artist, Sasha Fishman, who's staying in the loft above the gallery for the entire summer doing research related to, oh boy, the sun's going to come in, research related to fish migration and hatcheries and bioplastics and all sorts of things. And so they said, hey, Emma, can you like manage this? Can you do like a project manage all of this work? So I've been going and traveling around with Sasha to like, we went to a hatchery up in the Yakima Nation to see how they do restoration and conservation of different lamprey and sturgeon. And then we've gone to ones in like the Bonneville Dam along the Columbia Gorge. And
what's a hatchery? That sounds different than a fish farm, right? It sounds like it's maybe more of a natural occurrence. What's a hatchery? Yeah,
I mean, it's fish farms end up being more commercial use, but a hatchery can have a commercial component to it, where like one of the ones I went to it was a giant. They had maybe 18,000 sturgeon there, which if you've seen a sturgeon, it's like kind of brutal looking. And I'd never seen so many in one place, from like little tiny babies to ones that were older than me. And so they do have like a commercial component where they make caviar and, you know, sell smoked sturgeon, I guess. But then it also is for transporting out into the wildlife and keeping this active ecosystem. So there's a lot of nuances to it. And it's been really interesting to learn.
But it sounds like it's like a preservation effort kind of thing.
Some of them are. Some of them, like with the Yakima Nation, this one specific, I'm blanking on the name, hatchery that specialized on lamprey is about like restoration of them, keeping the population afloat, transportation to the different areas. But yeah, there's some nuance with hatcheries. They're not exclusively a fish farm, but you could call it a fish farm.
But it's not a naturally occurring phenomenon. No, it's not like where the, you know, at top of the river where the salmon spawn. Like that wouldn't be called a hatchery. No. Okay.
No, it's all man-made. It's all man-produced.
Right. Man playing God shit.
Yes,
I
it is
get it.
man playing God. Yeah.
But it's somehow it still sounds better than like a fish farm. No, a fish farm seems
It,
like a
a
salmon
fish farm
farm.
sounds like a place you would go to get your head chopped off. That's
Yeah,
what it sounds like to me, a slaughterhouse.
I
That's
I
what
I'm from Florida, so we catch our fish. I'm being so snooty about it, but no, all of this is new to me. So okay, cool. Well, let's get back into like your roots, because so like how did you like what kind of art when did you start to kind of become interested in it? I have a lot of questions about like the other areas that you're into. It sounds like you're more in the commercial gallery space rather than, I mean, if you're getting paid, you're not in an in an artist run venture, right? So
no, I'm getting paid.
yeah, so if this is a job, but how do you get here? How do you get into this culture stuff? It sounds like your entry point was art. So what I always like to ask people is like what's like your earliest memories of being art interested? Because I grew up in Rome, so my experience is very specific, and I'm always like interested in how other people like mine. It seems like a logical conclusion because there was so much art around me, but like I'm always interested in how people like when they first remember that spark of like, you know what, this isn't a waste of time, and then like the moment. It sounds like there might have been two moments. One where you decided you were an artist, and then that you decided you weren't so much an artist anymore. And then the other thing I want to ask is the chainmail wearable, or is it?
The chainmail will be wearable. It is
Are
not
you like
currently
Ren
put it on.
Fair?
No, I'm not. Well, I would go to a Ren fair. I don't know. I just kind of, well, I tried knitting and I couldn't do that. And I tried crocheting and I couldn't do that. And so then I thought, well, I don't think I would wear anything that was knit or crochet anyway. I would wear chainmail. And for
Okay.
years, I've been asking friends, I've been for my birthday, and I don't think any of them take me seriously. There are these like chainmail hoods that you can get a matching one for yourself and for your pet, which that's perfectly timed. Tail just went in the air. Um, and you can get one for your pet, and they're on eBay. And I've like sent it to my friends, in the lead up to my birthday many times, and it hasn't happened yet. And for some reason, I feel unwilling to buy it myself. So we're testing the waters. I feel like a chainmail dress would be really easy to make, and then we'll move on to the matching outfits.
Okay. We'll get back to the questions that I asked you about your creative journey, but what did you dress like in high school? I was a raver. I still wear Nikes, Air Max 95s, 90 and 1999, so, or 97, sorry, 99. But, those are the things that I still hold on to, even though I'm not wearing my big Jinko pants anymore. I do still own a pair. I bought them one Halloween. I dressed as myself for as a raver when I was 17. Classic. I couldn't get a wig. I wanted to get a wig, but it was too late because I wanted to get the full skater hair and everything.
Oh, you have
yeah, I have a picture of me with somewhere. If I still have it, but like, my sister got it for me when I was like 15, and when I was 15 and angsty, I was like, oh, how vain does she think I am? And now I'm like, oh, it's awesome that I have this picture of myself at this time where I was like, but yeah. So what were you like in the high school era, middle school?
Okay. Well, I think
I want to see where the chainmail comes out from.
Well, the two clothing periods that are maybe, if I have three, I'm going to say three periods that are most defining. Elementary school. This is going to date me because I was clearly a fan of Avril Lavigne. I only wore basketball shorts, t-shirts with a tie, wristbands, and I had these SpongeBob Converse high tops. And that
I was so out of high school when that was happening that I have no idea what the label would have been. Is that a rocker? Emo?
That's like a girl rock, like that. There are photos of me, like that. That was elementary school. There was tomboy also. That was big. This was like, I'm 29, so this was like 2006, 2007.
Okay.
3, 4.
When the boy bands were raging the scene.
Yes, but I was not. I mean, I liked Green Day, but I wasn't an NSYNC or, which I just butchered, NSYNC and Backstreet Boys. Not my type. Not my thing. High school, I wore, and this is gonna really make me seem like Portland, I wore like 90s maternity dresses that I cut short that were never evenly cut. And Doc Martens got on eBay that I wore so hard they developed holes in the leather. And a choker.
And a choker. Like one of those straight stretchy lace ones that kind of you know what ones that like plastic. Yeah.
Oh yeah, I had that. Some variations. Yeah. And then now for the past like 8 years, I almost exclusively wear black. Not intentionally. The little secret is that I'm actually partially colorblind. Like it's very little.
Okay.
But enough that I've just decided black is way easier to go with and it doesn't show sweat. So
my friend bought one of my pieces for her husband who's colorblind for his birthday and we were like trying to figure out which one he liked, and I was like, I guess we have to show them all to him and let him pick because we don't know what it looks like to him. So it's a crazy. Go ahead.
It's minor, but enough like that. If I'm talking about something, sometimes like I was, and we'll get to this in the whole trajectory, but like I recently was working at James Fuentes in Los Angeles, and I was talking about a painting to someone who came in, and I was like, oh, well, and all the blues in there. And she just looked at me and goes, there's no blue in there.
And what color was it that you were referring to? Did she ever tell you the name
green.
of it?
It was green. So you know what? That's close enough. Like, that's fine.
Oh my God. So Green Day could be Blue Day to you.
It could be. It could be. It really could be. But yeah, that was my outfit.
What were your first experiences with art? Like where did your parents take you to art galleries? Was it like that, or was it a thing that you just kind of stumbled upon through classes? Like where did art kind of hit the scene for you?
Yeah, it's kind of a mixture. They didn't necessarily take me to art galleries. I mean, in Portland, it was like a kind of small scene, but they put me in art classes, like starting with Mommy and Me painting, and then, art classes all through elementary school and everything. And I'll say I was not great. I wasn't super good at drawing or painting, which explains why those were not
ever, or at that time you never got good at it.
Ever, I would say ever. Those weren't my mediums that I went into. Yeah, those weren't the mediums for good reason. But we would go to the Portland Art Museum, and I like distinctly remember a Lorna Simpson show that my mom took me to, and like Paige Powell, because she's prominent in Portland. And then I guess which will now reveal my medium, my mom gave me a 35 millimeter camera that she used, and so that's what I ended up like really grabbing onto was photography. And that was my medium of choice.
So then when did you start? I mean, that's usually not until high school that they have labs, right?
Yeah, they didn't actually. I would do it on my own, and I took some like digital photo classes. I actually didn't take photography in high school. I just started shooting, getting them developed. And then I was looking at colleges, and I decided I knew I wanted to go to a small liberal arts school. And I decided like kind of on a whim that I wanted to be a photography major. That was it. Like
I made that mistake too.
Yeah, yes. Well, that's getting to why I don't make art anymore, or I don't do that anymore. So I wanted to be photography and English. And so I ended up going to Bard because they have a really strong photo program.
Where is that?
That's in Annandale-on-Hudson, New York. So it's like upstate.
So it's on the East Coast. Yeah.
Yeah, East Coast. And it's like Stephen Shore is the head of the department. And I was there for like 2 years, 2.5 years. And my mentor specifically there was Barbara S., who was like part of the no wave movement. She was also in the music scene. She dated Glenn Branca, and she was like this crazy kind of experimental photographer who would make her own pinhole cameras. She would shoot in it was either color and print in black and white. So they'd have these like really distorted kind of like really surreal images that were very like kind of dark and elusive. And she was a hoot. She was like the most wild, energetic person while also being like really kind of like mysterious and secretive about certain things. And I remember like one time she had me just sit in this room with her and like sit really, really low in my chair and stare at the walls and watch all these leaves going back and forth. And then she just turned to me and she said, "We should be on acid right now." And I was like, okay, no, but sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that was like I guess that was sort of my intro into
So then
art, was sort of just jumping to the conclusion that I needed to do it.
But who were your like main inspirations for like like when you first start out, you kind of don't have your own thing to say, so maybe you emulate other people as a starting point. Was there any people in particular that you were drawn to? I think my really photography. Go ahead.
Oh no, you go ahead. Yes.
I was just gonna say, for example, but it seemed like you already had one. Andreas Gursky, I think, was a big one for me. I think a lot of it also had to do with what was available to me. So like a lot of the people, I didn't know who Chris Burden was until I moved out to LA and all of that. Like I had what was available to me in Miami. And that was like what, I still think that Jen Stark is pretty cool, even though, she kind of works in a different commercial space than I mean, I don't really want to comment on her career, but she works with like Miley Cyrus in the past and stuff. But she's a Miami local that does like very basic, or not very basic, but very colorful patterns and stuff like that. That is kind of a big influence on what I'm doing now. Although, I'm not making her work. I'm just saying that like the idea of like her influence on me with color is I'd say probably the most prominent thing I have from that college era still in my stuff. Especially because I'm like right now I'm specifically going and I'm making patterns, like this one that I'm working on behind me.
Yeah, but, I know I've been trying to piece together your background.
Yeah. And, I have it. This is basically going to be the background that sits behind the guests, eventually. So that's also the motivation for making these, but I also really am into them now. But yeah. So who were your influences? Like, who was your?
I mean, I really was like, some of it was just influences that I saw without names that I was just seeing on the internet as I would pour through different things. I loved Barbara S. She was great. I also, I really liked Francesca Woodman. I'd read a bunch of Diane Arbus, and William Eggleston's colors were incredible to me. And I'm not sure how much of those became like influences directly, but they were things I was keeping in mind.
Yeah. No, the Eggleston was my favorite person to write about, and it was so easy to write about his work because it was like all there. Yeah. You didn't have to like. It's maybe the most literal work to write about in photography. Whereas like, I don't know. I think that I struggled with color photography a little bit more than I'd like to admit. I struggled with like. Making color photographs sometimes, that were like that, like the whole idea of like, why does this have to be color? you know. So that was kind of one of those things. I've talked a little bit before about how I had a hard time with art in general. So then when did you start realizing transitioning out of that stuff? And tell me a little bit about artist management, because I think that that's an interesting concept that I haven't talked to anybody that does that. But you basically, I would imagine, because of the work you do with galleries and with artillery, are in a good position to sort of give people advice, which is one of the things that I'm trying to just basically I started a podcast. I would have people in the artist run scene because that's who I knew and who I could get on the podcast. And then slowly I got a handle on what that's like. I still interview artist run spaces all the time. And I find it very interesting how that community keeps growing and there's always new projects, and I support that. But the thing that I'm really kind of curious about is the stuff that an art manager might know more about, which is the commercial side, how the business works. So tell me a little bit about how you got into that. How long have you been working in galleries in general?
Well, I mean, like the long answer, well, it depends. Do we count like first interning? Because I started doing that when I was like 18. If we count that, I started interning, which kind of coincides with why I left photography. But I started interning at some galleries here in Portland. Like I would come back from New York during the summers and do that. And then I went into interning. I was a curatorial intern at the Portland Institute for Contemporary Art, which, while not a gallery, is, sort of like the ICA in LA.
Yeah, it's an institution.
Yeah. And so that summer they have this like giant time-based arts festival that happens in early September. And so part of what I was doing was helping like gather all of the materials for creating this catalog and writing about it and writing about the artists that we included, which like put a lot of energy into doing deep research on the artists we were incorporating, who were all performance artists, including this great guy, Dan Seward, who lives in Hudson. If anybody goes to Hudson, they need to go to John Doe Records. He's a genius. But I was doing all this research and writing, and sort of at the time, it ended up really shifting my interests. I started realizing that I was becoming less interested in actually doing photography anymore and more interested in helping artists create their own project. And that was also sort of because I realized that being taught how to do art can be really stifling. And ultimately is why I ended up leaving Bard and went to Reed College, which was back in Portland, and becoming a dual studio art and art history major. And so all the while I was doing that, I was still in galleries. I like curated a show with my friend at one of the galleries that was, again, a sort of ephemeral time-based exhibition where we had 3 different artists come into the gallery and transform it in response to the color blue and ephemerality and time. And so that has sort of been where I've been since then, is just staying in institutions or galleries, I guess since I was 18, mainly as like a supplementary thing to my own art practice at first, and then it just sort of took over.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
What is it about it that you find interesting? Because I always find, like, I've had people on that run their own space, run their own gallery and whatnot. Is that the end objective for you? Is that something that you're interested, like, because to me it's such an interesting world, and it is, there's a lot of women in this industry, like I would imagine that there are a lot more of your coworkers are women than men. Do you have any idea why that happens? Do you have any idea why that is?
I don't know. Maybe because, like, statistically, isn't it that women are also the ones who are getting like higher education degrees at a greater rate? And even to be a gallery assistant these days, you need like a master's degree.
Really?
Because,
Really? Is that
well,
true? I didn't know that. Yeah. They asked
no,
for
but
it.
I mean, I feel like even if you were getting an entry level job anywhere nowadays, they're like, we want 7 references and also 8 years of experience. But I know it is always women, but then a lot of male gallery owners, which
Yeah.
is
No,
like
it's an
another.
interest. I mean, if you have any commentary on that, that won't get you in trouble. I just think that's fascinating. And it's something that's come up with artists that I talk to, like, I don't, sometimes I can't remember if something was said on the record or off the record. So I'm not going to credit the person who said it, but it is an interesting aspect of it, and I'm still confused as to why the last Whitney Biennial was called Even Better Than the Real Thing, when it was curated by like women of color and probably even a trans woman, I think. Or I don't know. I'm just saying there was an effort to be inclusive in the curatorial staff, but then in the end they name it after a U2 song. and and I'm like,
I didn't clock that.
yeah, and I'm like, what
I
the fuck?
didn't.
And so I don't know. I mean, we don't have to get political, but I think it's an interesting industry where it is like one of those, it is hierarchical in this very particular way that, I don't know.
Yeah,
It's an interesting space, especially because it's only until recently that more Latino artists in California, in LA, are getting into LA galleries as well. So that whole the evolution of that kind of highlights where institutionally it's still. And I'm not like, this isn't a like check your privilege. This is more of like an inquiry into like, isn't this fascinating? Like just how it is structurally. Yeah.
It is. I mean, in general, and I definitely we'll have comments off the record later that we can.
Yeah. Oh,
we're gonna have to information.
We're gonna have to wait until. No, we're gonna have to wait until all this stuff uploads from our local recordings. So during that time period, instead of just awkwardly sitting and being like, "Okay, you can go now," we'll talk about that.
Yeah. Okay.
Well,
yeah, I don't know.
I mean, we've acknowledged it. You don't necessarily have to know the answer. But
I will say the gallery I'm with right now is all women run, women owned, women run. All the artists are women, are queer women. That is a big shift from the like. I don't think we have to name the names galleries in.
Well, there's a lot of galleries named after one particular dude.
Yes, there are. There are a lot of galleries named after.
A lot of galleries are just the guys' names, And I'm not throwing shade, but yeah. I mean, we do have Shoshana Wayne, and we have other stuff too. So.
Yeah, we do. I mean, we have Hannah Hoffman. We've got Diane Rosenstein. All of those. Well, actually, is Diane Rosenstein still open? Yeah.
I don't know. Oh, yeah. Amir Zaki is with them. So who I've had on the show, he's a photographer.
We've covered him in Artillery.
Oh, okay, yeah. Well, not to plug my own podcast to my guests, but we did an episode.
Put the number in, yeah.
Yeah. All right, man, numbers. We're at like 200. We're about to hit 300, and it's like,
wow.
It's. I mean, we're 30 away, but it's still closer than you think.
Yeah.
I don't know how many weeks are left in the year, but at least it's probably going to be this year or next year, towards the end of the year.
Don't make me do that math, but I'm pretty sure it's next year.
Oh no, it's got to be.
That's 5 months. That's January. It's January.
It's January. It was close enough. It was close enough. You're much better than math than I am, which is probably why you're in administrative stuff. So, okay. So then tell me, can you give me an idea of like what art management has to do with? Are you advising? Like let's say I hire you as an art manager or artist manager, am I understanding specifically what you do?
I mean, that's just what I'm doing right now, technically, because I was like in LA, I was doing more gallery management, which kind of held every sort of component in it. And then it was just me there for a little while. The director left. So I put on a lot of different hats.
Left for vacation or quit the job and didn't let the door hit them on the way out?
That one. Yes,
Okay.
that one.
In a huff?
No.
Okay.
But they left. And so, yeah, I mean, you asked a little bit ago,
well, tell me,
if I would
go ahead.
want to run my own artist space at some point, or if I wanted to do something. And that is a goal of mine, at least within the next 15 years, whether that's a side project to being in a gallery myself, like being in someone else's gallery, and then I have my own non-commercial component. Where somebody would love to be able to just invite artists, especially artists who are not in a traditional medium, because once I left photography, that's actually what I started doing, which is partially why I haven't worked in a long time, because I don't have the space to do it. I would make giant immersive installations. I did a lot of natural dyes. I made the entire art building at Reed smell awful because I was dyeing a bunch of fabrics with pig's blood that I had diluted, and it turns out that is like disgusting.
How the fuck was your answer not that you were goth when you were a kid? Chainmail pig's blood.
I'm the surface.
I'm smelling true crime. I'm smelling a strong stench of a body in your entertainment.
Trust, I mean, if you read my actual thesis, you would see that there is a real common theme throughout it all.
What's that? Can you nutshell it?
Put it in a nutshell. Yeah. My graduate thesis was looking at trans-corporeal ways of being, and specifically this idea of interpersonal osmosis between the artist and the viewer, which had a lot to do, it was rooted in the broad concepts of the abject and the inform and the just sort of oozing body, the oozing material mess of a body, and how
Okay.
yeah, that was my graduate thesis.
He smiles with a smug sense of satisfaction.
Yeah, you got it right there.
Yeah. I do interview people, and I have inadvertently gotten better at hearing what people are, the subtext of people's shit. It's hilarious. Yeah,
I love exploring the body and trying to find ways to not exist in a body. That would
okay. Like what? So, are you a transhumanist? Are you going to Neuralink yourself?
No. I think I would actually just rather be like a wisp of air with a personality. Yeah. That's personally how I would like to be.
Jeez, I've been talking a lot about the grieving process, and what it brings up for me is mostly like this idea of not being me anymore is terrifying. So I like the idea of the wisp of air that has personality.
No, I personally hate being in a body. I really don't like it. But I also don't want to not be me.
Do you have sensory issues? Like I've had people that have tied in with gender dysphoria. They have they don't like being touched and stuff. Like the physicality is I'm not going to say who it was because I may be butchering this entirely from memory, but basically what they were saying is that that it's disorienting. Physicality can be disorienting to them. So it's not something like that. It's just more like a philosophical ideal that you have.
Yeah, that. I mean, also I don't know. Don't you ever walk around and you're like, God, I'm so contained. My skin is just holding me in. And if only I could I have a lot of stomach pains all the time. And I'm like, if only I could just not exist with this. But no, really it is just I don't know, having a body can be kind of cumbersome. I mean, it lets me do a lot of things. But if I could just sort of
float
out. Yeah. And there's a photo that my friend always references of me from a party we had after we all graduated from our master's degrees, and I'm just like in a pool of water, and there's just this really weird lighting thing, and it just feels like I'm leaving, I'm out of the universe.
Are you a paranormal person, or am I reading too much into this? Are you like a Zach Baggins?
No, I don't know, but I actually was thinking about this because I was listening to a podcast that's not mine, so I don't need to plug it, but I like it. It's called Trillbilly Workers Party.
Yeah, I know that one.
Yeah.
Those are the guys with the southern accents that are always.
Yeah.
Or I've heard them talk about how like the first thing that people do when they want to sound like an idiot American is do a southern accent. And I'm like, I feel you, dog. Cause I mean, I'm not from the South and I didn't have the accent, but yeah, I know a lot of smart people that talk like they're from Alabama and shit like that. And I'm like, yeah, I could see that being tiresome.
Yeah. No, they're very smart. It's also kind of like an Australian accent. I can't take people with those accents seriously. Just as an aside, I find that difficult to be like, give me a lecture on physics, but you're saying things like, well, I'm not.
Yeah, that's pretty good though. That's pretty good. No, I would.
Two words.
In Australia, they're banning machetes. Like they ban guns and they're banning machetes, and that's a bridge too far. I would ask for a cultural exemption because Cubans are all about, our whole economy was sugar canes. Like the machete is like one of our biggest cultural symbols of like, So I I was like, Jesus Christ. Australia is pretty wild when it comes to like Australia and the UK are like, yeah, you guys don't have guns. We're just going to push you around. It's pretty crazy.
Yeah. Also, like, I mean, I keep a machete in my car.
I know. No shit. Yeah. And it gets an exemption because it's a tool also, so you can't like, it's not like banning a knife that's like more than 3 inches. It's like, it's a legit thing that like, you can't do things with something else with a machete. But we should get back to art. Although I do have a friend, Jessica Gispert, who had a body of work about machetes, and I'm a real big fan of that body of work. She's Cuban, Jessica Gispert, and so like, don't come from my machete, dog. You'll pry it out of my cold dead hands.
That's the tombstone. There you go.
I don't own a gun and I don't own a machete, but man, seeing people get pulled off the streets, I'm like, maybe I should be registered as a concealed carry permit haver to make them say, maybe, But anyway,
I'm not
you're not gonna say no.
That you shouldn't. That like, I've got a lot of friends around here who are doing shooting training. Just gun safety classes, just so you're ready. But you never know. Right now.
Yeah, we don't have to talk about guns, because I was about to get into the whole 6 hour. There's a gun that like shoots by itself and has killed people, and it's. I'm getting into gun YouTube. I'm announcing to my audience that I'm losing it. But yeah, no. So tell me a little bit about the art world and like how you see it from your perspective, because a lot of artists. I just say this to all gallerists in general, or all people that work in the commercial side of things. I find that there is a huge contingent of artists that went to school, they graduated, and then they resent galleries because they don't even know how to interface with them. They don't even know how to interact with them, how to and honestly, I didn't either until my hack was just to have them on the podcast. So like, that's how I became knowledgeable or have any fucking, cause I'm not working in a gallery. Are you kidding me? Like that is like, that's a tough life. When you are an artist and you are the help, I feel like that is a hard, I remember I had my friend Salome, who lives in France now. She was working at Cirrus Projects, and we were all friends. She's an artist, and we were all friends, and we were all hanging out. And then came the moment that she had to clear up all the chairs. And then that dynamic was like, oh, you're the help now. And like that, I can't imagine gallerists seeing you too differently when you work for them. Is that something that I imagined? Because I do know that there are a lot of people that work in galleries that are artists and do have opportunities.
There was like a show recently. I mean, I might be saying this wrong, but I'm pretty sure like Karma had a show recently with someone who started as their gallery assistant. I don't know. I think it's a kind of weird space to navigate. When I finished grad school, I kind of didn't think I would go into galleries. I started with artillery and I actually thought I would do research. And then it was just like, it's LA, you need jobs. The Getty never hires. And when they do, they pay the really bad. And so I got into them, which was strange in some ways because after getting my master's, I didn't really think I would keep doing that until I opened up my own project space. And I do have a lot of friends who are artists, and it is like there's a fine line sometimes between balancing, I don't know, like I would at the gallery I was at in LA, like when I started, I made this giant list of artists from the West Coast that I thought we should check out because I've been on the ground. I'm with people. I'm with younger people too, because so many galleries are either we're exclusively younger people or exclusively dead people. And it feels really hard to be one of the younger people getting into that scene and actually like really having someone take you seriously and not just give you a platform simply because you're young and new and then never give you a show again.
Yeah.
So when I started, like I had this massive list and it was kind of difficult because there were people who were my friends that I was like, I just want to put them on this list. Like I want to get my friends on the radar of, the person who makes the decisions. And I did. Like, I'm not going to say I didn't do that.
I mean, that's how it works, right? Like that's how you know of artists.
Yeah, that's like the community that I've been the most, aware of. And so it is kind of weird to be in the gallery world. And like, we would have people who would come in and just be like, can I show you my work? And my instinct is to be like, you get a show. Of course you do. You took the time. You like wrote a handwritten letter. And it's hard when you are often the front face and, you're the person that people walk in and see, but you don't have that final decision. That's kind of like a hard space to navigate. But I also think it makes it so when you do find an artist that you really want to advocate for, you'll put yourself on the line for that. And so there's like one of my friends is a truly great artist, and I've been pushing for her I'm pushing for her in different spaces right now. I'm pushing for her. But yeah, it's strange to be sometimes like the person who can help someone get a leg up, but not really know how I can do that. And so I think that is why when I actually am in some of these roles where I am working with an artist we've already chosen to represent, I get really invested in it because it's like my moment to really help them get what they're trying to say out there, whether it's through writing about their show, because some artists, sometimes, I'm gonna be honest, you cannot write about or talk about their work to save their life, but they have so much that they're saying in it. Yeah. And like, that's also why I've been keeping the balance between being in galleries and also continuing to be an editor and be a writer, is because that is one way that I've found I can continue to like give a little nudge or a little boost, if I may speak unhumbly, to people by like giving their show a little leg up. I don't know if that answered your question at all.
No,
it
does.
Spiraling.
No, you're fine. That's what. Have you ever been on a podcast? That's what we do.
No, I haven't.
Do you remember when I was just talking about guns?
That's right. And I almost started talking about my YouTube interests, so we would have gone.
What are your YouTube interests? There's not a lot. Deep sea welding. Okay, we won't go down that path. I want to respond to what you were saying because I can sort of relate a little bit to that. I think that, you know, it makes sense. Like, especially, not that this podcast puts people on, but people act like it's a big deal. Like their desire to be on it sometimes, or like I'm in a position where I'm like, I don't think this is going to do as much as you think it's going to do. You know, like ultimately the listenership is not fucking the readership of artillery or anything like that. but it is funny. It is funny how artists get in those situations where, like, how people will talk to you. I find that there's people that will be resentful sometimes. I find that there are people who you know, this is not a woe is me thing, but the realities of interfacing with people in this kind of setting is like, I think that people get upset or get frustrated that they aren't doing something like this, right? That's so regular and whatnot. And they think that I am moving farther ahead than I am because I just have this thing that I'm always doing. But like, it's not the reality of what I'm actually accomplishing is so small and like inconsequential in the grand scheme of things, right? And I don't know. How do you feel about that pressure from social groups? You know, like that feeling, because I can imagine it being like, I'm the same way, you know, when we're done with this, I'm going to have all this stuff for you to process, for you to edit, like all this text that I'm going to take the transcripts, I'm going to give it to ChatGPT. It's going to write something. You're probably going to hate it. You're probably going to have to have me to reprompt it and stuff like that. And it's interesting how people partake in that process. Right? Like, where like some people won't even fucking read what you write them, and then they'll just respond angrily like, I wrote it. I'm like, bro, I literally told you I didn't write this, and you're mad at me because I got something wrong. And I'm like, I didn't get it wrong, you know? So like, where does that fit into your reality? Because it doesn't sound like you think of yourself as a gatekeeper. It seems like you think of yourself as a promoter of people. But I've, in this space, definitely experienced people that are happy with the leverage of gatekeeping. Whereas, like, I don't really, like, that's one of my least favorite things about doing this, you know, where it's like, where that feeling of like people, where sometimes you can just feel when people want something from you and they're not like being genuine.
Yeah, which is definitely, I mean, I guess I'm more of a gatekeeper when I can tell that that's what's happening. Like when, you know, somebody will be like, hey, like, let's go get drinks. Let's do something. I won't turn you down if you're offering to get me a drink. Why not? I mean, I just drink a soda with bitters, so, you know, I could do that myself, but yeah, why not? And I'll be a little bit more gatekeepy then if I can tell that it's like, yeah, somebody assuming based off of either where I'm working, you know, I was in LA, I was working at a well-established gallery, or because of being with the magazine, that people want to assume that I have something more going for me. And in one way, not something more, they might be projecting like a larger thing onto me.
They think you're inside on something that you're not.
Yeah, which isn't to say that I'm not holding some, like, you know, if you pitch to me in the capacity of a writer, if you pitch a piece to me, yeah, I do get to say yes or no. And that is but more often than not, I'm gonna say yes. Depends on your writing, but I'm more often than not, I'm going to say yes, but it is weird to be in this position where you do have like a little bit of power, a little bit of something. When you are someone who is really ingrained in the community that you are gatekeeping. I think if you're like one of the big galleries that we know has multiple locations, you can have distance from the community that's trying to engage with you.
Yeah.
And that gives you the ability to say yes or no to certain things. But when I'm, going out to Trieste after with everybody from a show opening or something like that, you end up overlapping, and it gets kind of weird. And that's kind of like a balance that is in galleries and in writing, that I feel like I have to sort of toe the line with often. The same thing applies with writing a review of something that is a more negative review, and being aware like, God, this could affect this artist, like this could affect their sales. I'd rather do this to someone who's dead or who's already like a mega name, but I'm also not going to like kiss ass to something that isn't super great. And so, a lot of the people who write for Artillery are also artists, which is one of the things that makes Artillery really great, is it is all artists or art adjacent art workers, all art handlers.
Do you boss around Elwyn Palmerton?
I've only edited Elwyn, I think, 2 times. So
did you tell him?
No.
Page 1 rewrite.
I've given rewrites, but I give rewrites to everybody.
Okay.
Yeah. I would never send like, Elwyn, this is trash, whatever. Because Elwyn is very, very, very.
No, Elwyn's a smart. He's a smart guy, and he's a good writer. I had him on the show. He's a sweet guy. I just like the idea of someone being his boss, and then me being like, you should like really put him in check.
There are like, every time, sometimes egos come up, and sometimes like if someone sends me like a really, aggressive email, sometimes I am like, you know what? Like, just, I'm gonna calm down for a second, because I will admit I am like an auto responder on email. And I've had to be like, okay, let's rein this back. Let's bring it in. I'll like show my mom something I sent, and she's like, oh my God, you sent that. I guess I didn't think it through. But
I think I'm also in that sweet spot where where a lot of people also know that I'm not important, so they will talk to me a certain type of way. And I'm like, and when that happens to me, my mom recently helped me with one, but when that happens to me, I'm like, I'm promoting you for like absolutely no money at all, and it's just labor that I'm doing, and like that, just internally I'm like, wow, man, the sense of entitlement really gets me sometimes, where I'm like, you're talking to me like I work for you, buddy. Recently I cut off a bunch of people because I was at a party, and down the line, like I was talking to one person over here. There was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 people. I was talking to this person, then this person got involved and started criticizing the podcast. And then I looked down, and then the next person started criticizing the podcast. And then another person. And it wasn't even like I was like, you go. I was just like looking. And as I turned my head to get back to the conversation, everybody had something nasty to say about
just in a firing squad.
It was a fucking intervention. I was like, okay, I'll stop drinking. But it's crazy. It really is. Like, I think that in what I'm doing, because it's like, I think the intimacy of a podcast just makes people think that I'm like open to just like getting shit on all the time, because I do, like, I'm self-deprecating, and then I'll like go to a party and 5 people just shit on me, and I'm like, I'm too drunk to leave, but I like really want to leave like right now. So all I'm gonna do is sit in silence, But it's a very, very strange that dynamic of like perception of people, like I really just honestly do this for me, like in terms of like the the things that I get out of it are connecting to people, socializing, and when I go out to spaces, I know more people. That's like really like the driving force of it, you know? And through that, I'm like, I've done okay in terms of like meeting people, but it's a crazy thing. What do you think like artists can do to help themselves in terms of like, as someone who writes, critiques, and all of that stuff, what do you think like artists can do to make their position better in the art world? You know, like, and this is completely aside from all the like overbearingness of them and all of that, like just on the most basic, especially since you to some degree don't have a competitive edge in this game, right? Like for me, like I'm like, oh yeah, I'm happy for you to have the opportunity, but I want my opportunity too. You know, so like what do you think, like when you think of all the artists that are doing well, like what do they do that stands apart from the artists that maybe are a little bit more bitter, more cynical, feel a little bit more chewed up? Because I really do not during the podcast interviews, but I really do come across a lot of people that are like, they just talk and then they're like, right? And I'm like, no, I don't agree that you know, commercial galleries are horrible or whatever, like, you know, sellouts and all of that shit. I'm like, no, they pay artists, right? So like, what do you think?
I mean, let me think. I mean, I guess part of it would be to not be so bitter, because that energy comes across in general, and I think it will affect your art in the end. Like if you have resentment towards, I mean, it's like the same, oh my god, I'm gonna blank on the this analogy isn't gonna make a lot of sense, and I recognize that, but it might. So like, you know, a watch pot never boils. I feel like that can be applied to art. And like the more that you are sitting and you are focusing on it and you're thinking, I'm not getting this, my friend just got a show at Sade, I didn't get asked to have a show there, what's going on, blah, blah, blah. It starts to come out in your art, and you can tell that there's like this kind of sloppiness and a kind of just aggression there. And I think that ends up being just like, obviously people want to make money. So me saying like, try not to fixate on it and try to like remove yourself from it, because the people who are making art because they actually just have this compulsion, this need to do it and do it without the expectation of anything, those are by and large the people who I think end up being successful, depending on how you look at the word success. And if ultimately that success comes down to you get a show at a blue chip gallery, well, then unfortunately that is like largely a networking thing. You either have to cultivate like a very, I'm at all the poker games in LA personality, or you have to.
Wait, that's how you get into those galleries?
No, but you know, that's like kind of the hype, like, oh, all the people who are at, you know, this after party for Freeze or Felix, you know, I don't know. Those might be the secret ways. Oops.
What are you in at those parties? Do you go to those parties?
I've been to some, but I'm not good at poker. But I've been.
Wait, so seriously, are you using poker as a metaphor for like stealing yourself and pretending to belong there, or are there literally poker games that I could steal money from rich?
Games. There are giant after poker Freeze games that happen. There's ones after Freeze, but like in general, there it's
What's the buy-in?
It's Casinola, or Casino LA.
Okay.
All word. And there's like the World Series of Art Poker. And so it is sort of like an elusive sort of, you have to be there. I have obviously not been invited to play. I've been there and watched. I would be like the biggest sucker at the table. And I'm sure the buy-in is like an entire
That's what salary. I want to know. What the buy-in is probably too rich for my blood, and I would be.
Yeah,
I'm good at poker when I'm stealing $5 from my friends, you know, or like you know, or $60 from each person buying in. But like the idea of like, if it's thousands, I think that they will call my bluffs. They will see me sweat.
That's of course the only times I've ever done well is when I've been like no money in the game. And it's like, oh
Yeah,
shit.
yeah.
If today was the day where I went, all right, we're gonna do it. We're gonna put up
Yeah.
this money and just hope for the best, that would, but
I got into
that is
poker a little
part
bit.
of it.
I didn't know about the poker thing. That's a fascinating insight. What's your crew? Like who, I mean, not like who are your friends, but like where do you congregate? Like obviously you probably spend time with the galleries that you work with, but like what is the, cuz LA is so vast, like you mentioned Chardet Gallery.
Yeah,
I know Daniela's there a lot. I know that she's also
yeah,
at Last Projects. Is
yeah.
that the community that you're part of? Like who are you hanging out with?
I mean, I've a lot of my friends have had shows at Sade, and so I've been there a lot, and I like the artists that he brings in. I really like. I wrote about. Oh my God, the name is Tim Presley's show that he had there, which was like one of my returns to liking portraiture because I for a long time claimed I hated portraiture, which was also when I claimed I hated painting. But I think I was just
Wow,
being like
you've taken
oppositional.
stands. You've taken very
Well,
very intense brave
in my
stands.
defense, when I was really anti-portraiture was during that period where portraiture was everywhere and like
Yeah,
Chloe
yeah,
Wise was everywhere. And it was just everyone doing the same thing. And like also during a period where people were copying, and I can't think of the artist's name of the people who were copying, but a lot of people were intentionally or not mimicking the style of Tarsila do Amaral, the painter
yeah.
from Brazil. And there was like, I don't know, all of this was happening. And I was like, I fucking hate this. And I just need this to stop. So
Yeah.
I said loudly for a long time that I hated portraiture and I hated painting. Uh, and that has changed.
Imagine your stance on Rembrandt and shit like that.
Yeah, overdone. Overdone. I was, of course, I think it's probably not a surprise that I loved Egon Schiele. That's
a
probably
lot
not
of
shocking.
a lot of ladies in their college years were very much into Egon. I don't want to
Yeah.
make it a gendered thing, but I know guys appreciate him, but I think that ladies like Sheila a lot more.
Yeah.
In my
Yeah.
in my
I
in my anecdotal experience.
yeah, that I liked Sheila. But what was I saying? Oh, so yeah, I mean, in terms of like galleries that I will try to make a priority of going to when they have an opening, either for the artist or just because I like the people that show up and I like the
Mhm.
vibe that's created. Noon Projects, which Ryan Noon I actually know from Portland back in the day. And so when he came, I reviewed maybe one of his earliest shows. It was James Cherry. And I just love everything Ryan's done. I really like right now he has like a show up in his apartment, which I really love. I love apartment galleries. I would love to have a 2 bedroom so I can have like a in my own world. I would
Separate,
love to
yeah,
have
yeah.
that. And I have a friend who's Alex Sherman who also showed at Sade and is an incredible painter. Again, I'm eating my words about painting. I was like, you know what? Maybe we should take everything down in my house and just put your stuff up on the walls. Was that selfishly because I want to live with it? Yes. But I would also love to have, kind of
Yeah,
like what
yeah.
Quarters Gallery does and things like that. So I go to Noon. I mean, when I was working in Melrose Hill, I of course was going to all those ones. But I do really like Hannah Hoffman. I really like what she's doing there. And I mean, some of I don't know, I'm trying to think of like, I liked some of the shows that Megan Mulrooney's had too. So those are where I go. But, I live in Los Feliz. So I'm just around there in terms of
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
for anybody who wants to stalk me, that's where I am most of
No,
the time.
we'll post
Yeah.
the street address right here on
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
on the
Right
stream.
here on like what is it, a Chiron or something like
Yeah,
that
yeah,
that
yeah.
goes across the
A
bottom?
lower
Yeah.
third.
Yeah. Yeah. That's where to find me. I've been robbed
Please.
before, so they can do it again.
Yeah, yeah.
More than welcome to.
Let's not manifest things in the ether because we are in Los Angeles. That shit's a little stronger here than in Florida.
Yeah. But and I also really like those like painters pool events that happen. I don't know if you have gone to any of those, but they've had like some different little parties at a bar or something where it's just, if you make art or you're art adjacent, you go to that. And like, it's kind of a nice welcome space for a bunch of people. I haven't been to many, but I like the concept.
It's like a mixer kind of thing?
Yeah. Yeah, I guess it is a mixer. I don't know. I think it can be really...
But don't tell the art community that I called it that, because they will resent me.
It's a mixer, but it is nice to have like art events that are outside of a gallery, where you aren't inherently talking about what's on the walls or giving in some way privilege to, X gallery or whatever gallery. Like, that is something that I've found kind of hard to find in LA, if I'm going to be honest, is like congregations that aren't just around the place to be or, X show, like the really sceney aspects, but to have like the true, well, we all like this one thing, so we're all meeting together. That's been more difficult.
Is there any world in which you would recommend an artist live in Portland over LA? Like, would there be a condition in which that would be something you would recommend, i.e. a small fish, big fish in a small pond kind of scenario? Or is it just makes more sense to just kind of grind LA? Because if you want to get to that level, you're going to have to come to LA eventually, kind of thing. I
have a lot of thoughts on this because, of course, like Artillery is LA focused, and I love that. And there's so much that is coming out of LA, and so much reasons to focus on it. But also at the same time, I think that we do have to address that LA is really an inaccessible place to people on just a financial level. And so having it be that you have to be in either LA or New York to be able to cut it is hard and kind of not fair. And I really like spaces like in Portland, there are quite a few galleries and like that are doing amazing things. And, we have Adams and Ullman is always at Felix, and the one I'm with right now, Illy 2, is at Basel and doing things. And you can, Illy 2 represents Amanda Ross Ho, and she's LA based and represented by them. And so I think that people should start looking outside of just LA in terms of gallery representation, because we're in a modern world. You don't actually have to live there if you're going to do that.
Yeah.
And vice versa. You could live in, I'm blanking on the name, but there's an artist who shows with Gabali who lives in like Idaho, in a random place in Idaho.
Yeah.
I think, especially right now in this period where like galleries are closing, you'll have 300 people apply for one position. Rents are so high, and we really have to start like both continuing to cultivate what makes a city, but also realize that we can't kind of gatekeep. And that is a lot of what happens is like, if you're not here, you're not doing it. So I would say artists should move around. I think that also changes your perspective a little bit. That's what I've done my whole life. It's just
Portland. Yeah, me too. Portland is one of those cities though that could be, because I know Miami has gotten really expensive compared to what it used to be. So like there came a moment where I was like, maybe I move back to Miami. And I looked into it and I was like, oh no, my rent is rent controlled and cheaper here. So like pretty much at this point, anywhere else outside of LA that I move is going to be a lot more money. Is Portland expensive? Because it does sound like there is a scene. Has it gotten LA, Miami levels of unmanageable?
I guess it depends who you ask because I think it's really cheap.
Okay.
Having
But
been
if you're from
in
Portland, it's expensive.
like the housing in general to buy a house has gone up, but like I like to look on Zillow all the time, and I can say for what I'm paying in LA, I could have a 3 bedroom house with a yard
Yeah,
here.
yeah. So,
But it
yeah.
is a really interesting city because you also do have Nike, Adidas, Intel, and like a bunch of huge PR companies. And so there is like this interesting, there is a lot of secret wealth in Portland.
Yeah,
Maybe
yeah.
not
I would
secret,
imagine so,
but
yeah.
yeah, I mean, you have all of Nike,
Not
all
secret
of
as in
Nike is
Austin,
here.
not secret as
Yeah.
in ostentatious or
Yes, you're not going to have like a Beverly Hills size house necessarily. I mean, maybe if you're a Blazer, but like, yeah, you
yeah.
know, it's to me, it seems wildly affordable.
And then
But
so how long have you been in LA? This will be my last question. We've been going for a little bit, but
oh,
I just
uh,
keep coming up with things to ask you from your particular perspective.
I have been in LA since I moved in 2021, but I'd started grad school at USC for the curatorial program in 2020, but the pandemic happened. And before
Okay.
that, I was living in Philly. So I've
Okay.
been,
Oh wow. Yeah. Well, I mean, I guess it's I can't really ask you how you've seen the city evolve like for too long because it's pretty much all post pandemic, which is kind of a correction anyway.
yeah.
You know, but what do you think like trend wise? Where do you think is the scene? Is the art gallery world growing? Is it shrinking? Where do you see things going? I've heard from I don't know if you know Leslie Fram. I had her on the podcast, and she was saying that high ticket sales, like anything under $5,000 is still being reasonably moved sold,
Yeah.
whereas the real high ticket items are like that market is shrinking. What
Yeah.
do you do any market analysis, or are you just strictly and then what do you think about where things are headed?
I mean, I don't do like a hardcore market analysis, but I pay attention to some things. But I would agree with what you just said,
Leslie.
or Leslie said,
Yeah.
that I do think lower price points in general from the people I've talked to, the gallerists that I've talked to, and dealers I've talked to, things at least I would go higher. I'd say under 15 are still
Yeah, yeah.
doing okay. And I think that kind of speaks to like, I think honestly, the galleries that will, it's kind of, well, it's kind of difficult. 'Cause I think that the galleries that will do better are the smaller ones that are selling pieces at a lower price. So places
Yeah.
like, Sade or Guero or things like that, I hope stay open. And but then also, you have to take into account overhead. And there is a difference when you sell pieces that are, like $2,000. You have to sell a lot more of those to keep up with the
Yeah, yeah.
overhead. But I mean, we're talking on a day where like Clearing closed today or announced that they closed. And we've
Wow.
had Blum close and all sorts of places. I think those are the ones that are going to be closing, are a lot more mid-level to high level. If not fully closing, they might close that location.
Well,
And I
that's what
think,
my understanding is that they're not leaving. They're changing model. So, or some of these places are changing model. I forget who it was that told me that, but that makes sense where it's like unsustainable. So then maybe you switch to a different model. I
yeah,
can't imagine that Blum is completely out of the game. Is basically the subtext of what I'm saying. You know,
uh, I don't know. I mean, I
you
don't,
think he might just be like, "Fuck it."
he might just become a private dealer,
Yeah, that's what I'm
which
saying. Yeah,
that's,
yeah,
oh, well, yeah, yeah.
yeah,
But in terms of
yeah.
like, I don't
So
expect that he'll
opening a
like
space.
pop up, that he'll do pop up in like,
Oh no, no. Yeah, yeah, yeah. No,
yeah,
no. I'm
he's
just
not going to
saying
be
that like
rolling.
Basically, what I'm saying is, one time I went to Hollywood Video when they were having a closeout sale, and they were just selling everything because it was the transition to Netflix. And I joked around, I was like, "Haha, these guys are losing money to the employee," and he was like, "No, they're not. They're like look at all they're selling right now. So they're just liquidating, and then like that money probably went to some other shit. I mean, I don't know what Hollywood. It took probably the founder of Hollywood Videos ended up with a fat stack of shit, and then is now a private art dealer inside a James Bond style villain cave on some island. Anything that I haven't asked you that you think might give me some insight as somebody who's basically trying to figure all this shit out and learn. Anything that maybe artists don't see and don't know about. It's okay if you don't have it. You've already given me a few, but just figured.
Words of wisdom.
If you want, it doesn't have to be words of wisdom. It's just
my words of wisdom are like, do it if you love it, but also don't feel confined to one place. I think that's actually a huge takeaway I have lately, is don't feel confined to one medium or staying in one city or staying in one region. Keep going. I guess, that a big part of that is also saying, like, if you're struggling really, really hard and that ends up making just to like keep living in one place and that ends up taking up more of your time, you can still don't buy the idea that you have to be living in New York City to be the next great artist. If someone loves your work, they'll come to your studio there. Oh, and do studio visits to anybody. Like
anybody that's interested, anyone that will take it.
I get asked on studio visits all the time, and not even because of gallery work. I just get asked. And I'm like, yeah, do that. Really do that. It's fun. That's it. To anybody. It's easy to find people's emails. It's really easy to find people's emails.
Cool. So you're even saying like just that you're encouraging people to cold invite people, like a cold call to invite them to the studio visit?
Yeah.
Should they submit images? Should they submit images, or should they just be like, "Hey, describe the kind of work," and then like, how would you format that?
An image. Request? I think an image is helpful.
Image. Hey, I want to show you some of this. Like one image. What?
If you have one, or just like even a link to your website, or like a little PDF that has, even like 4 images. But if it's one and it's really great, I'm gonna go.
All right. Cool.
Yeah.
Very, very hot tip. Thank you so much. I really appreciate you taking the time. Anything that we can promote for you. You're at Artillery Mag. You're the editor. You're the second editor under Danielle.
Daniela owns and is editor-in-chief. I'm editor.
And then, what's your actual title?
Editor.
Just editor?
Editor and new media manager, because I also do that, but
okay.
That's just the side. And
your Instagram is Emma is at what?
At Emma J. Christ.
Emma J. Christ.
It's always fun, surprising stuff there. Who knows?
Oh yeah. No, I follow you. You are an aestheticist, even though you're not. You know, there's a vibe to there's a cohesive. Yeah. It's curated. It's not just random. You know, it's not like sometimes I get people following me and I'm like, you don't care about art. And I'm like, maybe he's a collector, so maybe. But like, it's like, crypto guys. And I'm like, I'm not selling you shit on crypto.
Oh, yeah. No. Well, I did get my master's in curation, so I would hope that my Instagram speaks a little bit
to that skill set.
Cultivated person. Yeah.
Well, yeah. If you do you curate regularly? Do you have any plans to curate, or are you taking a break from that? What's the
taking a break right now? Taking a break, okay. But my hopes are that within the next year or so, I'll have another one under my belt. Even if it's like in a new kind of, I don't know. I've also been experimenting in my head with new ways of exhibiting. So even if it's like opening an online platform, which is to be more accessible to anybody. And then I hopefully have that 2-bedroom that I can have a little curated group show in.
Well,
Let's
just keep
cross
me
fingers
updated
for
on what
that.
you're doing, and I'll try to make it out. And then no, yeah, I like to support people that have been on the show. I mean, it's the easiest way to meet people, right? You invite them on a show,
Yeah.
and then you support their stuff, and then you become friends. That's how.
Yep, that's
That's how, like, that's basically how I'm building up all the people that I want to do a studio visit from here. But now I realized I didn't even have to try that hard to have a podcast. I could have just emailed people directly.
yeah.
I'm like,
You
I
could
met
have
this
just done
guy
it.
and interviewed it. I met this guy and interviewed him. And now I can get him to cut. And now I'm like, oh, I'm an idiot. I could have just emailed.
Well, you get to share it with everyone.
Yeah.
So you're doing a service.
Well, yeah. I like to think of it like that when it doesn't make me feel like a martyr. And it's hard not to feel like a martyr sometimes, but I won't burden you with that. Anyway, if you guys enjoyed the conversation, like and subscribe, help us out, give us some momentum so that the algorithm gets us out there. We definitely are trying to crack this art world thing and get us a better sense of it than we got in school. We have $5 a month gets you on Patreon, and you get on the Patreon scroll where we promote you right here. And that really helps a lot. Like, I just looked at it recently and I'm like, oh shit, my gear that's broken, I can replace it. So if you guys want to help out, that's a huge help. And we'll be back next week with another guest and another topic that may or may not be art related. Thank you so much, Emma. It was a pleasure meeting you. And
Pleasure.
yeah, don't go anywhere. Now we have to awkwardly wait. End recording.